Hi, everyone. David Aragona and Mike Beer here taking a look at the closing day feature at Saratoga. Monday is Labor Day, the final day of the meet, and the feature is the traditional Monday feature, the grade one hopeful going 7 furlongs for the 2-year-olds. And with Labor Day upon us, you do want to take advantage of this Labor Day sale that we've got going on at DRF.com. You can save 15% on all of your favorite DRF products, including PPs and handicapping products. Just use that coupon code LBD15 off when you're perusing the options at shop.drf.com. Well, Mike, we've got 8 runners entered for this grade one hopeful, and it's a pretty intriguing race. A lot of horses that won their debuts last out or are coming off maiden victories. You do have a stakes winner in the number 3, Romeo, who has changed barn since his last race, but everybody in this field comes in with something to prove.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what you get for the most part with 2-year-old racing now, David. These stakes races in the summer, they're really entry-level allowance races, except for the fact that, as you pointed out, we got Romeo in here who's already running 2 stakes races, and he's already won one of those.
And obviously, looming large over this race is the presence of a West Coast shipper, the number 5 Butane, coming in for Bob Baffert. Doesn't ship to these 2-year-old races at Saratoga very often, but he's got so much firepower out west. He has to split them up somehow with so many 2-year-old debut winners at Del Mar this summer. He's going to be sending Butane to contest this grade one hopeful on Monday. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race, Mike, because the pace projector is based on very little data. A lot of these horses have only run once or twice, so this can obviously change, but just based on what these horses have done so far, mostly in maiden races, it does appear that there is quite a bit of speed in this field.
Yeah, that's usually what you get. We'll see. The pace projector certainly has the Baffert horse right up front there. We'll see, how fast that horse is. And I don't know if you agree with this or not, David. He didn't look like a particular bullet to me in his career debut, but we'll see if he goes forward in here. There's supposed to be pace in this race. And of course, when you're talking about 2-year-olds, lightly raced 2-year-olds, and fast paces, you also have to take this distance into account because some of these horses might really struggle to get to 7.
Yeah, it's a good point. If they go too quickly up front, we've seen these races fall apart in the past, and we'll see if that does happen. If it really falls apart, maybe that's going to help a horse like the number 4 AI, who does have the late pace flag over his chiclet on the Timeform US pace projector. If you want to do a deeper dive in the Timeform US PPs or any other of the daily racing form PPs, you can get free past performances for this race and every single DRF race of the day. Just log into your account at drf.com or create a free account and head on over to that race of the day page to access free classic, formulator, and Timeform US PPs for the race of the day. Let's go through this field from the rail out, beginning with the number 1, Curtain Call, a horse that ran well on debut behind subsequent stakes winner Obliteration, but came back for his second start here at Saratoga, Mike, and very professional, getting the job done. Obviously, you could see in the replay, this was a sloppy track, and Curtain Call had no problem handling it, got a very good trip, saving ground on a day when I thought the rail was pretty good, but tipped off at an upper stretch to win going away at the end. It kind of gives you the impression, Mike, that 7 furlongs shouldn't bother this horse too much.
Yeah, great. I mean, we'll see. It's a sloppy track. Maybe it wasn't, ultimately the strongest maiden special weight field either. We'll see how that all plays out. But I still thought he looked really good winning that race. I thought his debut was a promising effort too, David. I thought he ran fine in that race behind a really good horse. Took a nice step forward last time. Seems like the kind of horse who's going to be fine if he doesn't make the early lead in here and they go fast in front of him. I don't know, man. I feel like he's going to be a fair price, and I thought there was plenty to like about this horse.
The number 2, Flying Hawaiian, is also coming off a maiden victory. He won his race at Parks last time. And Mike, the connections are getting awfully ambitious here, stretching out from a 4.5 furlong maiden win to try to go to 7 against a grade 1 company in this hopeful, but kind of feels like they've been planning this for a long time, because you look at his work tab, he's actually been training up in Saratoga right up until this race for trainer Butch Reed, who is not based in Saratoga. So they definitely have this race circled as a long-term target. And he was visually impressive winning that race at Parks last time, but this is just a way tougher spot.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he stacks up, though, because I noticed all the same things you did. This is a really dangerous trainer, too. I mean, Butch Reed knows what he's doing. And when he comes to New York in particular, or New York in general, Saratoga in particular, these horses are ready to go, man. So I think that makes this horse interesting. I don't know what he was beating last time. He did look good winning that race, though. He got beaten to the lead by a horse early in there, but he just walked right up on him, took over, and he settled that race quickly when Paco asked him to do it.
He is related to a really good one. His full brother, Maximus Meridius, races for these connections and is a multiple stakes winner. The number 3, Romeo, is the most experienced horse in this race, making the 4th start of his career, Mike. And, he tried stakes a couple of times. Obviously, the Tremont was a little bit disappointing, but he did run into the very precocious filly Mythical that day, and nobody was going to outrun her. And the connections maybe had an excuse for that race because they surprisingly came back quite quickly at the end of the month to contest the Bashford Manor. And it's like a different horse showed up. He was way more engaged right from the start, dueled with a couple of other speeds, put them away on the backstretch, and just responded to every challenge to open up on that field late. And the connections made a really savvy move after that to put this horse in an auction at Facing Tipton, and he sold for a whopping $1.7 million and now transfers to the Steve Asmussen barn, looking to continue his progression.
Yeah, that's a crazy price to pay for this horse, but we'll see what he turns out to be. Listen, I feel like you're right to point out his connections probably felt like they had an excuse for the Tremont. I kind of thought they did too. I mean, he didn't run well in there, but I mean, he was just sort of on the outside, outpaced on a day, by the way, too, where there were only 4 dirt races and they were all won wire to wire fashion. So we'll see. Maybe he did have a real excuse there. I thought his debut was really, really good. I know it was a 4.5 furlong race at Laurel, but he was really impressive winning that race. And he got back on track last time. I don't know what it all means, David. He ran well in that race. If I wanted to nitpick it, I would say I didn't love that he was sort of drifting out at the end of that race and on his wrong lead. And, we'll see. But man, he did a lot of work early in that race. So maybe he had a right to get a little tired.
That 85 buyer is the highest number in this field, and it's been validated by runbacks. The second place finisher Comport came back to win a stakes, improving his buyer by 3 points. The 5th place finisher came back in that same stakes, improved his buyer by 20 points. And I watched this horse's, at least one of his recent workouts. He went in company with a 3-year-old, appeared to outwork him slightly, and that horse came back to finish second in a good allowance with an 88 buyer in his next start. So it seems like Romeo is moving forward for the Asmussen barn. The number 4, AI, won his debut in eye-catching fashion earlier in August. Mike, we'll take a look at the replay of the stretch run, and the entirety of this replay is worth watching if you want to use your free pass performances to check it out. This horse, you could see he's way back at the top of the stretch. He was maybe double this deficit behind moving down the back stretch, but he gradually made up the ground, and yeah, he got paced to close into, but this is still a pretty eye-catching late run.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you're ultimately, who knows, maybe it's just a really bad field, but you're really not supposed to win after the start that he got off to, and then how much ground he gave away early there. You're just not supposed to win these races as a first-time starter, but he did it. We'll see if they ultimately do take the shot here, David. It feels like he's probably in over his head. If they do run here, he's also cross-entered in the Sapling at Monmouth on Saturday, and I think he's only like 3-1 on the morning line for that race. So maybe they'll run him there, but if nothing else, it was fun to watch that debut win back again because he was really impressive.
Yeah, I just saw the story filed by one of our DRF colleagues. I forget which one, but he did report that AI will be running in this spot. They're going to stretch out of the Sapling and try the Grade 1 hopeful. The number 5, Butane, Mike, the horse I pegged as the morning line favorite going out for Bob Baffert. Interesting that he's shipping here to the East Coast, but not surprising when you take a look at the replay of this horse's debut race because he was pretty impressive. As you said, he doesn't seem like some pure speedball because he did show the ability to sit off another horse early before taking the race over. I do always wonder what's in these Del Mar maiden races because it feels like Bob Baffert has all of the good ones out west. You could see the horse that's chasing him home here is another Bob Baffert trainee, but at least that horse did come back to validate the speed figure.
Yeah, he did. And yeah, you're right to question the quality, I guess, of those races too. I mean, this horse was 1-5 in that race. So it kind of felt like everybody knew he was going to win. But what I liked about the debut, David, is not, first of all, when you look at his pedigree, he's not really bred to be a sprinter. He's bred to be probably a 2-turn horse. He's got tons of distance in his pedigree. And to me, that's how he ran first time out. Again, he wasn't like a bullet. He got beaten to the lead in that race, and he was just forced to chase another horse all the way around the track. But you could just see by the time they got to the stretch, he was going to easily outfinish that horse and then keep going. And he did keep going. I don't think he's a sprinter. I think he just won that race on talent alone. The 7 furlongs maybe helps him more than it helps anybody else in this race. I don't know. I just feel like he's going to be really tough in here.
Bob Baffert has otherworldly stats with last out debut winners stepping up into graded stakes races in their second starts, but it is all at Del Mar.
Yeah,
I feel like this is a different world taking this horse over to Saratoga for his second start. The number 6 Soldier and Diplomat was highly touted prior to his debut in late July up at the Spa. And Mike, he ran a professional race to get the job done. We'll take a look at the replay, rated off some speeds early, took over at the top of the stretch. I was kind of expecting this horse to draw away in the late stages, and he never really did. He's getting a little tired at the very end here. I did like the way that he seemed to respond to a challenge when a cost came to him in the late stages. He kind of leaned on that horse. There probably, I forget if there was an inquiry in this race. There certainly could have been one because there was some bumping at the very end of this race here. But I do want this horse to finish better if he's going to be competitive in a spot like this.
I feel the same way about him. I mean, maybe want to give him a little extra credit there for digging in at the end there and holding on. Where it looked like that other horse had a lot of momentum on him. But ultimately, David, he got the job done first time out. I just wasn't really blown away by it for a horse. Felt like there was a little bit of a story about him on the way in. He got bet really heavily and he barely won first time out.
Should be noted, Jose Ortiz, who was on him in debut, went to Curtain Call, who he also rode in this race. And I did look up some stats for trainer Steve Asmussen that I found in the DRF Formulator. Mike, you think of Steve as having so much success with the 2-year-olds. With last out maiden winners making their second starts in graded stakes on dirt, he's just 2 for 17 over the past 5 years, 12% win rate with a 42-cent ROI. I found that to be somewhat surprising for Soldier and Diplomat. The number 7, Emphasis, a horse 1 of 2 for Todd Pletcher, drawn towards the outside of the starting gate. He was pretty game on debut, Mike. He got challenged at multiple points in that race, showing speed right from the start, kept responding to those challenges down towards the inside. I guess my question for you is, how strong was that maiden race compared to some others that we've seen?
Yeah, well, listen, I could ask you the same question. I'm not sure how good it was. And it also, I feel like you have to at least factor in the fact that the horse that wound up finishing third in that race, who was heavily favored for Asmussen, had all kinds of trouble in there and probably ran the best race, even though he didn't win. But I don't really want to take anything away from Emphasis, because as you pointed out, it's not like even after all that trouble, they just handed this horse the race. I mean, a couple of horses came after him. He really had to run to hold on. And I thought he did it really well. I mean, I don't love him right back in this spot, but this horse did some good ththings first time out.
And the other Todd Pletcher runner in here going out for similar connections in the outside post is the number 8, Ted Noffie. We'll take a look at the replay of his debut when he got the job done as part of an entry this day. That did take some money. And Mike, what struck me about this horse was that he was just very professional, seemed fine, tracking some other horses in the early stages. I think drawing an outside post did help him, but he's drawn outside once again where he probably won't have to deal with too much kickback. And he moved up so easily on the turn to put this race away. And he's just maintaining his strides really nicely through the wire, which gives me some confidence that the 7 furlongs will be okay for this horse.
I agree. I just thought, he was a total pro first time out. He did everything right in there. And I just like to, as you said, that horse was coming for him on the outside there. And like he was never going to let that horse get by him. He didn't even let him get close. He just kept finding when he needed to find. I really liked this horse's debut, David. I think he's a dangerous horse in here.
Let's go to our picks for this Monday race of the day, the grade 1 hopeful. And Mike, I think we've both got that horse in there, the number 8, Ted Noffie. Yeah. He's our second pick, but we're going to go to different places on top. You went to the Baffert Shipper Butane.
Yeah, based on prices, I probably should have put Ted Noffie on top, because Butane feels like he's going to get bet pretty hard in here. But I just liked his debut, and I feel like, the 7 furlongs, it has to come into play here when you're handicapping this race, and I think Butane's going to get it.
When I went to handicap this race, I was actually expecting not to like Romeo, but the more I watched his replays and then his recent workout, I just felt like maybe he's a horse that is improving with each start. And I think the 7 furlongs should be okay for him. We'll see how much other speed decides to go for him if he's even quick enough to make the frontier. But I did end up with him on top, 3, 8, 5, 6 for me, and 5, 8, 1, 6 for Mike in the DRF Monday race of the day to wrap up this Saratoga meet. It's the grade 1 hopeful. Good luck if you're playing the races this Labor Day weekend.